The following program is the work of broadcast students from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the past week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Today on BCIT magazine, righting a historical wrong or political posturing, concern over a controversial Supreme Court ruling, and a character-driven debate over unilingual signage. Good afternoon. Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Matthew Hunt. The BC Liberals have been under fire recently after a leaked memo revealed their plans to capture votes in ethnic communities using public money. But despite the Liberals dropping that policy, reporter Angela Jung found out an activist in the Chinese community thinks now is the opportune time to bring up the issue of redressing the head tax.
And that is a head tax certificate.
Sid Tan is holding a part of Canadian history. The tax was imposed on Chinese people to discourage immigration from 1885 to 1923. He wants the provincial government to apologize and compensate the children of head taxpayers who weren't allowed to come to Canada because of the tax and other laws that were enforced for 24 more years.
If the government had the political will to sit down with head tax families and negotiate an inclusive, just, and meaningful redress, we could get this done in 2 days.
In the leaked memo, one of the Liberals' proposed quick win strategies is the need to identify and correct historical wrongs.
The government calls it a historical injustice. We have people alive that were affected by these injustices. Don't they deserve direct individual redress?
Keith Kwan's father paid the head tax, but he doesn't think a full redress is necessary. Instead, he thinks Stephen Harper's 2006 apology was enough, even though his family didn't receive any payment.
My father never complained about the head tax, so, I never expect going to be compensated. Yeah, I don't, so that's why I don't expect the government to compensate the children.
This leaked document called Multicultural Strategic Outreach Plan reads, some ethnic communities, particularly Chinese, feel that they've been ignored by government between elections. Yet those in the Chinese Canadian community raise their eyebrows when they note that this 17-page document doesn't note the head tax.
We raised the issue after this came up because we thought, well, you must be talking about this.
So I wish all this whole thing is going away. Don't have to, every time election coming up, do it again, okay?
But I have over 4,000 files of people that took the time back in the 80s and 90s to say we want direct individual redress, and I owe it to them to do the best I can.
Now that the BC Liberals have opened up a can of worms, Tan says he'll be taking the opportunity to fight for head tax descendants. Angela Jung in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
In a controversial ruling last June, the BC Supreme Court struck down the ban on doctor-assisted suicide, giving ALS patient Gloria Taylor the right to help in ending her pain. This week, the federal government is challenging the decision in the BC Court of Appeal, and Camille McDonald spoke with one man who's worried about the consequences of helping certain people end their lives.
Norman Kuntz has the blues. Kuntz and wife Emma Vanderclift spend hours on the computer, working to protect the rights of disabled people, their life's work. And when they're not speaking at conferences or making educational videos, they're thinking about the right to die case in the BC Court of Appeal and the message it sends.
With me, they're going to say, we'll make it easy for you. And they may look at me and go, oh my God, he has cerebral palsy, he's in a wheelchair. What type of quality of life does he have?
These two believe legalizing doctor-assisted suicide would put pressure on people to end their lives for the convenience and cost savings of caregivers and the healthcare system. They see it targeting vulnerable people at a time when they need care, not an easy way out. Kuntz was among the protesters outside court when the case started, many who support euthanasia.
Euthanasia is an option.
But according to Kuntz, people really need to consider the negative possibilities of legalization.
I am not pro-life. I am not pro-choice. I am pro-thinking things through.
Inside the courtroom, the government lawyer argued that the state is supposed to be a role model for regular people. And so by having euthanasia allowed in the law, it would be sending the message that suicide is okay. But she also acknowledged that the case likely won't be decided here. It'll end up in the Supreme Court of Canada in the end. Camille McDonald in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
According to Richmond business owners, there should be a balance of English and Chinese signs in the city. This comes after a group of residents petitioned that there's too much Chinese-only signage. Angela Jung has a reaction.
Linda Chen speaks Cantonese to her customers, and the brochures on the walls suggest they only cater to Chinese shoppers.
It is most like, our 90% of our clients or customers, they are all Chinese. So once we put the Chinese over there for the signs, so it's easily for our client to recognize.
But Chen says she always has an English version handy.
If you put everything in Chinese, but I don't think so that's a good idea though, because here it's in Canada, it's not in China.
And that's the argument one group of concerned Richmond residents is using when they sent a petition to City Council. It's signs like these at Empire Centre that are making certain residents upset. It reads, "We, the new visible minority, are experiencing exclusion, an exclusion that is relevant to all ethnic backgrounds unable to read Asian characters." It also says, "We approach you asking you to pass a bylaw requiring English or French on commercial signs, publicly displayed, along with heritage language." But the Richmond mayor and all but one city councillor rejected the proposal. For most people in Richmond, the prevalence of Chinese signs don't bother them.
If it's up to the business owner whether they want to have English to attract that certain customer.
有中文有英文，係咪？咁 I think to have a balance, to both English and Chinese.
That's bull. It's not true. I think looking around, you can sort of see that even if there is Chinese on the sign, it's also in English.
The owner of this mall wasn't willing to go on camera, but she did tell me that she has no control as to what each store manager does with their store. So if they decide to only use Chinese characters to market themselves, well, that's really up to them. Angela Jung in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
BC teachers held their 4-day-long annual general meeting this week. And as the spring election fast approaches, teachers and school staff want to make sure that the next government makes education a priority. They rallied outside of Premier Christy Clark's office at Canada Place. Their message, they don't want to wait any longer. The president of the Teachers Federation says the province needs more counselors, librarians, and special needs teachers.
We've been waiting far too long for the adequate resources we need to make sure that we can teach to the individual needs of every student. We're waiting too long. We want a government to commit to restoring that funding to public education.
A Kamloops High School teacher believes electing the NDP would be the change they're looking for.
I don't see the current government as providing that support. I think on record they haven't provided the services. I'm hoping for a change in government.
While their rally wrapped up fairly quickly, they're hoping that change can also happen within a short time. Coming up after the break, the Vancouver Whitecaps prepare for a daunting weekend road game. And SFU basketball makes Canadian history down in Bellingham.
Standby graphics, ready camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news.
Today on BCIT Magazine, striking.
Make magic on a movie set.
Frame.
And action. Or bring your creative ideas to life. BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
Welcome back. The Vancouver Whitecaps look to continue their early season success when they embark on a 3-game road trip this weekend. Their first challenge, taking on a Houston squad that's unbeaten in 19 games at their new stadium. Matthew Lowe has the setup.
2 wins against Toronto and Columbus to start the season has the Whitecaps flying high. They had the last week off, which has given them the time needed to prepare for a 3-game road trip. First up, the Houston Dynamo, who have quite the record at BBVA Compass Stadium. They're unbeaten since opening the new stadium back in May of last year. Head coach Martin Rennie knows his squad has a tough task ahead of them.
They've done well there, they've had good results there, and you know, at some point in time they're going to lose there. Who knows when that'll be, but all we're really focused on is doing everything we possibly can to you know, be the first team to win there.
Vancouver has been the better team in both of their matches thus far, but Rennie is aware tactical adjustments will need to be made on the road.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be slightly different, but hopefully we can still be you know, quality when we have the ball and keep good possession, and if we do, then that'll allow us to create chances up in their end of the field. At the same time, on the road you have to also be very dogged and determined. You have to defend well, you have to make sure that you make good blocks and good challenges, and that when you do have the ball you keep it.
Though they found the back of the net 3 times this season, scoring opportunities have been plentiful for the Whitecaps, especially last game against Columbus, where Rennie says that's the most chances he's seen the team have during his time in Vancouver. Neither Camilo or Darren Maddox have goals yet, but Maddox knows it's only a matter of time before he finds himself on the score sheet.
I haven't been able to get in on the score sheet that I've gotten goals kind of opportunity now, but I mean, it's not always about the goals to the striker, you know, it's all the little stuff I've been doing, working hard and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm not really worried about chances. Chances are going to come. It's just for me to take them when they come.
2 Whitecaps were absent from practice today. Omar Salgado's missing while he's nursing a foot injury, whilst Kenny Miller will miss the next game while he's away on international duty with Scotland. The Vancouver Whitecaps kick off against Houston Saturday at 5:30. Reporting from UBC's Thunderbird Stadium, I'm Matthew Lowe for BCIT Magazine.
With March Madness and college hoops quickly taking over the national spotlight, a local institution is making some noise of its own south of the border. In their first year of NCAA eligibility, Simon Fraser University's women's basketball team won their first national tournament game in Bellingham, Washington on Saturday, advancing to Monday's West Region semifinal. SFU taking on the Grand Canyon Antelopes down at the Carver Gym in Bellingham a few minutes in. Meg Wilson, she'll steal the rock, get a fast break down the floor, and the easy deuce, putting SFU up 6. At the other end, Judy Jones, she'll drive to the hoop, drops 2 of her own. Jones finishes with 15 points on the day. A few minutes later, Wilson, she'll have to battle for her own rebound. Jenna Pearson would fall on her ankle, and Wilson would have to get helped off the floor. Her day was done. Before the game, Coach Bruce Langford tells Christina Collins, "You gotta hit more threes, kid." She gets right to work. Collins from the top, yes! Collins again, yes! And one more time, yes! Collins 5 for 7 from downtown. Burnaby's loving it in Bellingham. She'll also finish with a team-leading 19 points. The Clan now leading 33-20. Nao Raincock-Akunwe dishing to Chelsea Rice. No, Akunwe grabs the rebound to Erin Chambers. She'll hit the 3. Akunwe, a double-double in back-to-back games, 15 points on the day for her. GCU trying to get back into it. Carla Wyman says no. 2-on-1, give and go, back at you. Wyman, she'll finish it, 54-34 SFU. More staunch D from the Clan. Jones driving, puts it into a forest of forearms. The Clan holds the Lopes to 33% in the second half. And gets more scoring too. Kia Van Laer, she optimas a fadeaway hook for 2. SFU walking away 76-59 the final. For more on the Clan's semi-win, here's Scottish Luke Scott.
Despite a rare tournament off day before Monday's semifinal, Simon Fraser showed little signs of rust, pushing the pace on offense early and often, as senior point guard Christina Collins led the charge with a game-high 19 points.
Christina Collins for 3.
I thought we had really good preparation, both mentally and physically, taking care of our bodies on that day off, to come out and play hard. I was pretty excited to be shooting that well, obviously. I wasn't thinking about it, I was just coming into shots naturally, and feeling good.
As impressive as the offense was, Coach Bruce Langford attributes as much of the success to their defensive game plan.
Well, I thought we needed to try to contain their two big scorers. Judy Jones is obviously a great driver, and we tried to clog up the lane a little bit, and there were some problems in there. We got a lot of support in the lane on screen and rolls especially, and I thought it caused some turnovers and some deflections that helped us.
SFU's 17-point win over Grand Canyon sets up a West Region final on Tuesday against their conference rivals and tournament host Western Washington. Now the winner goes to the Elite Eight in San Antonio, Texas, but win or lose, Coach Langford knows that his team's success is sending a strong message to Canada's collegiate athletes.
I think that a lot of Canadians are proud of those Americans that go south and play, and they're also very proud of the league that they have. And I think we provide a wonderful educational institution as well as a very competitive basketball environment that allows kids to reach their potential. We'd like them to see that.
The Clan will be looking for a little retribution after a 20-point conference final loss in their last meeting with Western Washington. Though potentially facing her final collegiate game, Collins is keeping things in perspective.
Just be prepared on our end. We know what we can do. We know what we're capable of, and do those things.
The only game that's going to matter with Western to these girls is the last time we play them. Tomorrow will be the last time.
Lucas Scott in Bellingham for BCIT Magazine.
After a break in the schedule, the Canucks are back in action in Phoenix on Thursday. Having split a pair of home games earlier this week and with under 20 games to go, we want to ask you, how confident are you in the team in this shortened NHL season? To weigh in on our poll and any other questions or comments regarding this program, please visit us online at bcitbroadcastnews.ca or bcit-broadcast.com. That's all for this week's BCIT Magazine. I'm Matthew Hunt. We'll see you next week.